2012, they're putting out a new special deluxe version of these things. You had something?
I was just wondering if you have any stories about what role Abbie Hoffman played at the Boulder conference.
Who?
Abbie Hoffman?
Oh, Abbie. Oh, boy, do I. He was fucking great. Refer back to opening announcement. I loved Abbie, and that was the first time I met him, and he blew my mind. I mean, he's almost up there with Kesey for me. I like proactive people that kind of stir the pot and get things going.
He had just gotten out of jail, too.
Yes, he had just recently. And so that was big news because he hadn't been seen in forever, and he had like a plastic surgery or whatever, so he looked different. And I still kind of can't reconcile the Chicago 8 frizzy-haired guy with the guy that I then knew from 82 until whenever he sadly left.
About 88, 89.
When he died? Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So, oh boy, it was funny. Oh shit, there are so many Abbie stories. But the best one was, okay, well, there's, right on the first day, Alan put together this panel, holy shit, like political fallout of the Beat Generation, I think it was called. And he puts on stage, how does this go? I don't know, it doesn't, yeah, Ginsberg, Leary, Paul Krasner moderating, Burroughs, Abbie Hoffman. So, and so it was really funny because we were talking about politics, like Burroughs and Alan were sort of arguing over, trying to argue that Jack was more apolitical. Couldn't give a shit about politics. And Burroughs would say one thing and Alan would say another. They're trying to like almost out-top each other in how much Jack didn't care about politics. And Leary and Hoffman are both trying to say how important politics is, and it's completely woven into everything the Beats did and everything we've done since. And they're arguing with each other about how important it was. So these two things are sort of going on simultaneously. And then Leary and Abbie don't like each other. And so Alan had put them at the opposite ends of the stage. And they were just going, but Abbie just killed. And they got about 12 minutes of one of his talks in that disc 2 of that movie I keep telling you about. And he came in shape like, like he was a boxer or something, like he was really built and just full of energy and really funny. He's a great presenter and communicator, as you probably know. And so he's just up there giving it. And then Leary is dressed in this sort of white gauze, like a kind of a faux guru or like a tennis instructor on the tennis. and then he'd get up and sort of pace around and do this like kind of lounge act with these like rehearsed jokes. And so he'd walk back and forth and then go like this and then deliver the punchline. And that would be the reaction. It was just embarrassingly insane. And like the contrasts that were going on that stage with frickin' Paul Krasner as the moderator, who was spectacular, of course, and became the impromptu moderator for the whole conference, which he just was showing up all over the place. What was I going to say? Oh, anyway, okay, so the other Abbie story was unbelievable. So Gregory. You guys, I know Gregory was a rabble-rouser, what is that word, heckler, famously, and
Who?
Gregory Corso.
Oh, okay.
And man, and it was kind of sad that at the press conference, for some reason, Alan had, or maybe Gregory just showed up, I can't remember, but Gregory was there at what was really Abbie Hoffman's press conference. And Alan did this every day. There was a press conference every day, so that every single one of the main guys would have a day, and then a couple of people complimenting them on it. So it was really great. So if any publication was coming for one day or something, or there was always a press availability, and again, this was all Alan's promoting, and he did an absolutely brilliant job. And as I say, at one point, he goes, the guys, organizing the stuff, solving housing problems, teaching classes, running yoga things, switching people's programs around, moving somebody because he doesn't want to be sitting by this guy. And the whole time, doing all of these, like, okay, now we're going to go and do Om for an hour, and then I got to fill the coffee cup, coffee maker. So anyway, so the Abbie Gregory thing. So this has been going on. And Gregory is well pissed off about everything. But in particular about anybody that came along after him. Him joining the Beat generation was a cutoff. Anybody after that. And this Diana Prima, she wasn't there. So, Abbie, forget about it. So anyway, but, so what Alan does was brilliantly, I don't know how he did it. He got to try to diffuse Gregory. He got him to introduce Abbie. And God bless him, and to my extreme surprise, he did a rather nice introduction, And I think that was Alan's way of trying to, I don't know, diffuse it or something. Like it was kind of like almost a Kesey approach, like get in somebody's face in a way to stop something that, like, get it in between or something. So that happened. Then, and this is amazing too. The audio tape, remind me about that. So, it's Abbie's big night. He's the only guy to get the big room, 1,200 capacity at the conference solo, the whole conference, Abbie Hoffman. Sells up, standing room only, along the back of the wall. He's got this whole riff down that he does. And he's just giving this great performance. I don't know if you know Abbie, he's a hell of an orator. He's doing his thing. And for some reason, I'm out in the kind of press lounge, green roomy thing we had outside of that. And all of a sudden, Gregory comes storming through the door with his usual coterie of ne'er-do-wells surrounding him. And he's like it was like the vibe of the guy carrying the football, and these guys are sort of blocking. That's kind of the thing you get when they're coming in. They enter the room, Gregory yelling all the way. And so they come in, and now he's worked himself up into a fine stew. And another brilliant thing Alan did, perhaps anticipating this, was he booked Leary and Abbie for early in the conference, so that the big picture guys would have their due, and then they flew out the first weekend, at the end of that first weekend, and so this is Monday night, and it's Abbie's headlining, and this is Gregory's last shot at him, and so I'm up there in the room, and he comes in, and he's already like rehearsing what he's pissed off about, which we kind of already know. It's like, you don't belong here. So, so blah, 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 this is going on, and then finally Gregory just and he looked sort of like the Penguin. I don't know what it is. He was sort of, and so I'm like, I'm not going to miss this. So, I followed him right through the door, and he starts going, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, you weren't here. And, like 1,000 necks craning around in the back of the room. And Abbie goes, oh, Mr. Corso. Thanks for being here. I'm so, and if you would like the microphone, Gregory, it's all yours. And he steps back from the podium, and Abbie, I can't, it's in the book. He was yelling, you weren't there. You don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here, you bum. Go back into hiding. And then, Abbie would have a retort, and so I was kind of right by Gregory, and you could watch the heads of 1,000 people doing this. This improv beat theater that's going down all the time. So and then finally, and Abbie won't, as I said, probably the one time in his life he didn't rise to a fight. Because that guy would Ted Kennedy's line was, I hate to miss a good fight. No, a fight not joined is a fight wasted. That could have been Abbie. So, but, God bless him, and to his smarts, he just kind of let Gregory yell himself out, and Abbie's not responding. And so finally he just goes, you don't know what you're talking about, and leaves. And so the heads all go back to Abbie, and Abbie goes, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is what the Beat generation is all about. So there's some great Abbie Gregory stuff. What a pair those two were. Oh, the audio tape. This is great, I love it. Hey, pull a thing back a little bit on mine, just in case I'm wandering around, you never know. What was I going to tell you? The audio tapes. So, why am I telling you this? Right. So this happens, and I remember this, and it's really vivid, right? And then finally I tracked down the audio tapes of the Europa made. They audio taped everything, but it was before the days you could afford to videotape everything. But they did, God bless them, audio tape it. And some of this stuff, so I have my own tape. I didn't take this. Some of this stuff is on the archive.org thing where some of it's loaded up. So finally, I've written another case where I've written the book, and I find the audio of Abbie's thing. And I'm like, oh boy, this is great. So, finally for the first time, 30 years later, I play this thing, and I listen to it, and he should be coming in by now. And it never happened. But I did notice some cuts in the tape. Some little tape chunks. So now I'm like, holy shit. Like, if anybody finds this and listens to it and reads my book, they're going to think this whole thing's full of shit. So, I'm a little freaked out, but I know what I saw. So finally, like 2 months ago, I meet on some Facebook friend-like thing, like somebody shows up in one of the groups you're in. Oh yeah, because of the kettle of fish. So I went to it, and she said, I used to live right across the street from there. In the old days, I know the kettle of fish on McDougal Street, where Jack's famous picture's taken from their local haunt. And she says, nonetheless, we started about the kettle of fish, and then somehow it comes up. She was at Boulder 82. And I was like, what? You do sometimes meet them, but it's not that often. And I was like, no way. Okay, here's the punchline. I said, no way. What do you remember about it? Which I ask everybody. And the first words out of her mouth were, the Gregory Abbie Showdown. And I was like, yes, it happened. So.
Do you think they actually have that on audio still, or do you think they cut it out?
I think they cut it out. And whether they did it to protect Gregory, or it could very well be, frankly, the audio, I think, was direct. Okay, I can't remember if we had a mic or if we were taking direct. So if you had that, and it was direct, you'd have Abbie talking, and then there'd be silence, because Gregory's way in the back of the room. And then all of a sudden, Abbie says something completely incongruous, and then there's long silence. and the audience is kind of cheering or laughing or whatever, and so it wouldn't work on audio, so let's say that's why they cut it. But what a freaky thing after you've written this book, but this is a great scene in the middle of it, and you think, oh boy, I'm gonna get to